Shang-Chi is a new MCU origin story about Sean, who leaves behind his mundane life in the US to go fight his corrupted superpowered warlord dad, and in good old MCU fashion also save the whole world in the process.
And why not?
In a movie that feels like one Marvel executive's apology for Iron Man 3,
and I wasn't playing a character at all, but a rather unflattering portrait of your father,
and another executive's effort to make an adaptation of Shadow of the Colossus because nobody else will.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
And overall, whatever this movie is or does for a lot of audiences seemed to work pretty well, since not only did it make more money in the US than any other movie this year, but I'm pretty sure it also carries the highest combined Rotten Tomatoes rating out of the entire MCU. And having finally figured out a way to see the film for myself, because for some reason it's not yet available on the Krakosian Disney+, I can totally understand why so many people were such big fans of it, since it does offer a lot of positive things on all key fronts of blockbuster filmmaking. It features a big bunch of powerful action sequences that can really grip you from start to finish. It features an efficient story that can deliver a very tight and satisfying experience. And it also features some very strong characters and relationships that can take you on a very intimately emotional journey despite the gigantic save-the-whole-world MCU size of it all. And so, since Shang-Chi somehow manages to shine in these key areas to the point of receiving one of the strongest welcomes into the Marvel universe so far, let's take a closer look and do what in this situation should be done.
I think I'm about to steal!
That's right, let's identify the core way Shang-Chi makes these areas work in order to understand why so many audiences became such big fans of it, and how we and all other movies in general can achieve the same thing. As in, let's steal from its success. Oh, and also, the reason I was finally able to see this movie and make this video is because I'm joining forces with an old Filmento ally from the past, so I do need to give them a shout out as well. But I'll do that after we first look at some action. Firstly, the way this movie builds very compelling action sequences is by consistently supercharging the action with an extra layer of one of two things. The first type of layer is an additional external danger, which you can find, for example, in this bus sequence early on. Essentially, Sean and his friend Katie are taking the bus to work when a bunch of shadowy fellas demand his family heirloom necklace, which of course then leads to fighting. But what you'll notice is that the sequence isn't just about the fighting, but what also happens is... Yeah, so in addition to the actual fight, there's also the external danger of the bus running out of control, which creates a whole new batch of things to worry about. We need to keep the bus from crashing. We need to keep ourselves on the bus and not get in by the pavement. We need to ensure that people in the bus stay safe. And it's that additional danger that adds an increased level of awesomeness. As another example of this, look at the high-rise battle where Sean has gone looking for his estranged sister and then gets ambushed by his dad's army, which forces him and Katie to escape across this rickety scaffolding.
Head straight for that elevator. You got this.
Again, it's not just people fighting. We also have to worry about not falling to our demise. We also have to worry about not letting Katie fall to her demise. There's something additional here to make the fight that much more challenging and cooler. And if cool and exhilarating is what you're going for with your action, this is a very useful trick to keep in mind. Once you've identified the fight and fighters, then figure out an external danger that we also need to worry about. The other type of layer is an emotional component, which you'll find, for example, earlier in the high-rise sequence where Sean arrives looking for his long-lost sister and then ends up fighting her in the ring. As you can see, there's no additional danger here. Externally, it's just two people fighting in a ring and that's it. But what we do have is something internal. See, before the scene, the movie has used flashbacks of Sean's childhood to convey the notion that the reason he's estranged from his sister is because he left her when he ran away from home.
Knew that I couldn't go back to him, so I just Ran.
And that notion plays a key role in this fight. We have a brother looking to reconnect with his sister that he left, and we have a sister looking to unleash her pent-up anger on her brother for abandoning her. That's the underlying emotional component that the fight is about.
爷爷把我扔在这儿。
我3天以后就回来。
Or as another example of this, look at the final fight between Sean and his dad. Again, nothing externally additional here. We're not being attacked by the CGI monstrosities. We're not worrying about laws of physics. It's just two people fighting in an empty space. But what is here is the internal emotional component that the fight's about. We have a father corrupted by the loss of his wife, which he's looking to undo at any cost.
Out of my way, boy.
We have a son fighting for the memory of his mother in a last attempt to make his father see reason.
He's not back there, Dad.
We have a fight so emotionally specific and powerful that any large external challenges requiring the character's full attention might just be an unnecessary distraction.
She's calling to me. Wish that were true.
And so, when building your action sequence, use the extra layer that helps what you wanna do. If you wanna make a cool, awesome fight scene, then choose an additional external danger to worry about, whether it's high speed or high altitude. Or if you wanna make a more emotional fight, then choose an internal emotional component that the fight is about, whether it's two strangers falling in love, or whether it's a son connecting with his dead mother by learning to fight the way she fought. But very quickly before we move on, I do owe a shout out to the old Filmento ally from the past that made this video possible. See, as great as streaming services are, the problem is that they usually divide their content based on region, and it's always some other region that has the better stuff. Which for me was a problem here until a simple click of this magic blue button allowed me to see everything Disney Plus has to offer regardless of region. And that blue button is Surfshark, the super duper VPN capable of switching your internet location with a click. They're sponsoring this video with an 83% off discount with 3 extra months for free by using code FILM. So since I'm sure you've never heard of a VPN before, this is how you gain access to geographically locked content. This is how you surf the internet without anyone being able to see your IP and who you are. This is how you get your hands on online deals that are cheaper in other locations.
Yes.
So yeah, check the link below and get Surfshark's magic blue button for yourself, help out the channel as well. Thanks. Secondly, the way this movie builds a very efficient and satisfying story is by consistently making individual events and instances serve a bigger purpose. This is something you kinda have to watch the movie yourself to fully see, but to introduce the point I'm trying to make, look at for example Sean's San Francisco friend, Katie. When the movie sets up Sean's character, it at the same time does the same for Katie. She's quote-unquote wasting her life by working as a valet and taking cars joyriding.
Did my daughter apply to any new jobs this week?
She refuses the idea of finding her purpose in life to unlock her full potential.
You've always been the most talented people I know. I just don't get why you're scared to actually use it for something serious.
She lives with her Chinese family with her grandpa having passed away.
We just know why Gong would have wanted you to move on and enjoy your life.
All of this stuff is essential for building up Katie's character to make us care about her, as you'll find in any movie, but what you'll find here is that everything I just said also comes into play later in bigger and smaller ways. When we get to the bus sequence where Katie takes the wheel to keep them from crashing, we realize that, oh, the job scene wasn't just character setup but also serves a purpose in plot obstacles. When we get to the magical village where Katie practices to become an arrow woman, we realize that, oh, the theme setup wasn't just for the main hero, but also applies to Katie as she's now finding the important thing to live up to her potential with. When we get to the battle sequence where Katie fights alongside this old Chinese man, it's like, oh, the dead grandpa wasn't just for the heck of it, but also comes into play here as Katie bonds with someone who is sort of a proxy over grandpa. And so in other words, the film essentially pulls double duty with Katie's character setup. Like, yeah, it's a bit weird how an average San Francisco woman can suddenly turn into an expert marksman, but at least it connects to the story's main theme of unlocking your potential. At least her driver setup carries significance in the plot. At least she earns her spot on the journey instead of being on it just because the movie needs a funny sidekick. Everything about Katie and the runtime spent on her serves some kind of a larger purpose.
Steps right between us and starts screaming the lyrics to Hotel California.
The art of confusion works great on stupid people.
And that's how we met.
On a dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair.
To explain this further with another kind of example, look at the way this movie uses flashbacks, which not only tell a story of what happened, but also carry an effect on what's happening right now. The flashback of Sean's cruel childhood explains how he ended up in the US, but it also strengthens our reason to go look for his sister afterwards because we've seen who we're looking for. The flashback of Sean's training explains his abilities, but it also builds noteworthy value for his trainer, who we then have to fight in the high-rise. The flashback of Sean's dad's story with the rings and falling in love with Sean's mom while fighting her explains a lot of things, but it also adds emotional depth for the infight where Sean visibly uses his mom's fighting style against his dad. The flashback of Sean's mom's demise and consequences of it finishes the story of the past, but it also adds that strong sense of rage to the disagreement between Sean and his dad.
I'm not afraid of you.
Yes, you are.
And again, please watch the whole thing with this in mind yourself for more, but the main point I'm trying to get across is that this movie essentially treats its story as a never-ending list of setups and payoffs, where events and occurrences don't just do what they're meant to do, but also lead to something else, with no individual loose ends, which is the key to building an efficient, satisfying story. Because now the audience can apply the information they've gained and feel good about themselves and the time they've spent. Because now the audience can watch one united, all-encompassing story about finding the way to unlock your full potential. Whether it's by learning to use your skills to help people, whether it's by being allowed to continue your family's legacy, or whether it's by being like those actor apes in Planet of the Apes.
If they can teach those monkeys to act that brilliantly, just imagine what I could bring to the world.
Good for you, dude. You found your passion and went for it.
Finally, the way this movie builds an effective sense of intimate emotion despite being a massive Marvel movie is by arming a couple key character relationships with an unresolved disagreement. As a good first example of this, look at the relationship between Sean and his sister, where the unresolved issue is the fact that when he ran away from home to avoid becoming a cold-hearted assassin, he abandoned her. Like I mentioned before, this issue is at the forefront immediately when we meet her. Sean wants to warn her of their dad's attack and make sure she's okay, where she just wants to beat the shit out of him for what he did to her, to the point where she even leaves him and Katie for dead when their dad's army attacks.
A week turned to a month, and a month turned to 6 years. That's how long it took me to realize I didn't need him anymore.
She's gone, dude.
But very importantly, just when we think Sean has lost his sister for good, right, so when the sister shows up to save Katie and help Sean in battle just when he needs her the most, that shows the audience that despite their personal issues, she still cares about him a lot. And now that we know that they both care about each other, we want them to make up like siblings are meant to. But it's that unresolved conflict between them that still just sadly prevents them from fully doing so, which is where the emotion comes from.
He's gonna destroy everything that's left of our family.
This family was destroyed a long time ago.
I will say that their differences are then kind of weirdly put in the background when they head out to find their mom's old village, which is a bummer because there was still loads of emotional conflict to mine, but the most crucial thing is that they don't make up. They might stand next to each other, but they're still miles apart. They might fight on the same team, but not together. They don't resolve their disagreement no matter how much the audience wants. It isn't until the very end, where they're fighting the big bad CGI dragon, that Sean is forced to once again choose between his sister and the thing he needs to do. And this time,
I'm not leaving you again.
yeah, so now that Sean makes the right choice of sticking by his sister no matter what, that allows their broken relationship to heal. That allows them to reunite and fight together as siblings. That allows the unresolved disagreement between them to finally be solved in a way that makes the audience feel oh so good. To explain this further with another example, take the relationship between Sean and his dad. When Sean gets attacked by his dad's thugs in the beginning, that makes it seem like, well, the guy must not care for his kids too much. But when we then actually meet him, he does seem to care very much, wanting them around, wanting Sean
to take your place by my side.
Until the unresolved issue between them emerges.
You can't just march into our mom's village. I mean, do you have any idea how it...
Yeah, the big disagreement here is about the wife/mom and the difference in coping with losing her. The father is incapable of accepting she's gone and wants to avoid all responsibility to the point of blaming his son for what happened.
You were there when they came for her, and you did nothing. Stood at a window and watched her die.
Whereas the son wants to protect his mom's memory and blames his father for turning his back on their family after she was gone.
We needed you, but you chose those damn rings over us!
Again, we know that these two care about each other and want to be together, but it's that unresolved conflict between them that keeps them apart. As in, the reason their fight can be very heartbreaking to watch is because we don't want them to fight, we want them to fix things like a family should. And it's not until the very end where they finally do. And to highlight the difference, look at the relationship between Sean and Katie, where you'll find there is no big unresolved issue at all. Not even that they actually love each other but are afraid to take the first step. No, they're just really good friends and that's it. Which is totally fine, but as you'll notice, very different from the emotional connections. And so, in order to build true intimate emotion for your movie regardless of its size, identify a couple key relationships and arm them with an unresolved disagreement to mine emotional conflict from throughout the runtime. It works here, it works in Civil War and Warrior, so it is definitely worth stealing. Which pretty much is the main big point for today. Look at these key areas of Shang-Chi we've talked about and steal from them, because they seem to have done pretty well here.